For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 13 of the Dumb Marks Pod. 13?
13.
Yeah. Hey, surprised we made it to 12. Now on to episode 13 of the Dumb Marks Podcast. Another jam-packed week of stuff to get into. Chris, how was your week? How was your holiday? Are you done with your food comas? Do you still have leftovers left? What's the deal?
We still have leftovers. Did a little bit of the social distancing holiday, but just got together with my parents and my sister, so there's just 4 of us. Still plenty of food left over. Instead of doing a whole turkey, we just did turkey breast, but we still did all the sides. We'll probably have that for a couple days. How about yourself?
Yeah, so we my mom came over, and then my wife's mom and dad just brought to-go plates, and they took food and left.
Okay.
So they came when everything was done. We all said grace, and then they left with their food. And it was just us, me and my wife, the kids, and my mom. But we had a whole turkey, 20-pound turkey for the 4 of us, because that was the smallest bird we could find. So got a ton left over. Gonna ate it for leftovers yesterday, putting up the rest of the Christmas decorations all through the house, and it'll be dinner again today. And then after that, whatever sides are left will get pitched, and we'll freeze the turkey and make soup later on.
Sounds good.
Couple of weeks. So, but yeah, it was a nice time. A little upsetting that the Steelers didn't play Thursday night. Looking forward to that, but we'll get into that in this week in sports section. So yeah, good deal, good week. Anything of interest that you watched this week since you were off? I'm assuming you were off at all. Were you off at all this week?
I worked Wednesday, but worked a little bit on Friday this week too. But I was off for the most part Thursday and Friday. But I did get some stuff in. Watched the Fresh Prince reunion on HBOMAX. That was really
saw a lot of people talking about that.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job on that. So at least gives me hope for whenever they finally do the Friends reunion, because that keeps getting pushed back because of COVID. So
I can care less about Friends. Never
watched.
watched.
I like to watch. So
I no, and I'm gonna if we have. I don't know if we have any listeners of the podcast, which I'm sure I'll get flack for that. But Friends, if it was on, if I was over somebody's house and they had it on, I would kind of pay attention to it. I know who all the characters are, but I didn't follow it week to week. It wasn't something that I sat down and watched on a regular basis.
When it was on,
it's a ripoff of In Living Single.
Yeah.
So and people can try to argue that with me, but you'll lose that argument. So
it was, whenever it was on, I watched it just sporadically, and then it's one of those shows that I really picked up, whenever it went to reruns and syndication, and really enjoyed it once I started watching it that way. I also watched on Peacock this week the Saved by the Bell reboot. I do not recommend that. I watched it all Wednesday. I watched the whole series, 10 episodes. Trash. Just trash.
If you go back and watch reruns of Saved by the Bell, the original version, they're terrible.
I can still go back and watch it with that nostalgia. It's Saved by the Bell. I enjoyed the show when it was on. But it's you watch
Tiffany Amber Thiessen is the only reason to watch that show.
Yeah, for sure.
Kelly Kapow.
Zach Morris was such a horrible human being on that show. Whenever you watch all the shit that he did, and they really just evolved that now with his new character, because now he's the governor of California.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and his son goes to Bayside now, and his son's worse than him, I think. So the whole premise of the show is that he's governor, he's messed up the budget, so they have to shut down some low-budget schools and figure out where they're going to send the kids. So they send the low-budget school kids to the high-budget schools. So Bayside's considered a rich high school now. Kids from a underprivileged neighborhood are now going to the rich high school, and it's just them interacting together and becoming friends and stuff. And that's the whole premise. But yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah.
I'll pass.
I did watch one of the episodes of Animaniacs They did the revival on Hulu last week.
A lot of people were talking about that too, and said I saw it was well done as far as a reboot is considered.
Honestly, it felt like it was just a continuation. Like it's like they didn't really change anything up. I just watched the first episode, and they kind of just gave you like a history of what's been going on since they've been gone type deal. So it wasn't bad, you know. It seems like they picked up where they left off.
I watched the Queen's Gambit on Netflix. Well,
I've heard that's good.
I have a couple episodes to finish, but even if you're not into chess, because it's centered around chess player, it's a done show. So I would highly recommend getting on and doing that.
Yeah, that's definitely on my
if you
list.
haven't done it. Yeah, really done really well. I got a couple left. It's only a limited series. It's only 7 episodes. Yeah, really done well. So
hour long or?
Yeah, about an hour long for each episode. So I would definitely check that out. I did watch Frosty and Frosty Returns last night with the family as the Christmas show started. We have not watched Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving yet. That is on the DVR to be watched probably at some point in time, maybe later today. So we have that. Rudolph comes on Tuesday. So there's a couple that we still watch as a family, even though my kids are older, which as a parent kind of makes me feel good.
That's good. Yeah, those are classics. So
yeah.
So
and then
last night there was a Minions special on NBC, but I didn't get a chance to watch that.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff on all the different channels all at the same time. So if you didn't have a DVR like when we were growing up, you were screwed pretty much. You had to pick and choose what you wanted to watch, and then you missed out on the rest. So
then 20 years later, you can finally catch up on it.
Yeah, exactly. So anything else for the week?
Just one little tidbit that I kind of found interesting this week is that Radio Shack's making a return. I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that happening. Apparently, there's still some stores open, which I didn't realize, and I thought they were all closed.
I thought they were all closed too.
Yeah, so apparently they're still going strong somewhere. I guess it's kind of like Blockbuster, how there's like a couple last remaining Blockbusters just floating around.
There's one Blockbuster left.
I think up in Alaska.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now they're switching it over to kind of like be like an Airbnb type deal where you can rent it out and spend the night at like Blockbuster.
Yeah, I'd do it.
For nostalgia purposes, in it, like people are, you can watch your movies. They have it set up. It's not a bad idea. But
yeah. So apparently Radio Shack's coming back. It's going to be just online only, but they are going to have their website as well as a storefront on Amazon's website. So there's going to be different ways to get them. But
Bezos
just to see how long it lasts.
Yeah, Bezos just keeps getting richer and richer.
Yeah, that's not going to change.
I don't got nothing else, really. Like I said, it was a slow week. Hope everybody ate good, drank good. Let's get into the rest of the show.
All right, Steve, getting into Bell to Bell this week, I really felt let down with WWE, starting with Survivor Series on last Sunday night. It's just a continuation. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot on the Survivor Series card that, I felt was enjoyable.
It's not Survivor Series no more. It's bragging rights. Whatever it is. So you open the show with the men's 5v5 match, and you give a sweep to Raw. And I tweeted out, I said, a sweep? Seriously? ... I was done. I didn't care about the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I was done.
The one thing that I was at least glad that they did I didn't watch Raw, but I saw that on Raw they did like a little tournament to do a number one contender match this upcoming week. And at least there was some type of continuation that made that match have some sort of significance.
So yeah, there's some stakes in those matches, but if you pay attention to the rumor mill and what's going around, the person that's going to win the triple threat on this coming Monday on Raw isn't even the person that's supposed to be facing Drew McIntyre at TLC. So take it with what. I'll let you, if you guys are into rumors and spoilers and you like that stuff, then go ahead, and it's out there. Whatever website you want to go to, it's out there. You can kind of peruse around and figure out whether or not you like the potential way that they're going, and who will be Drew's opponent at TLC. So yeah, with what, 3 weeks to go until TLC, a month to go, 3 weeks, something like that. So, but yeah, back to Survivor Series. I don't, that first match, the way that they booked it, you can make the logical leap, but again, there's that keyword logic that we bring up, right? They booked it the way they booked it so that they could continue the way Roman and Jay's feud has been going.
Yeah.
Not feud. I shouldn't say feud. Storyline.
Yeah.
And we saw that play out we saw it play out right after the match. You lost. You failed. They don't respect you. They don't fear you. They don't respect and they don't fear you. Then they don't respect and they don't fear me. If they don't respect and they don't fear me, then there's no seat for you at my table. So it's just if you're looking that deep into it, I went into it without like my intensive fan viewing goggles. I went into it just for something to have on, enjoy, kind of suspension of disbelief with a pay-per-view that I really liked growing up as a kid. And yep, first match, nope, completely took me out of it. I could care less for the rest of the show.
A lot of the problem that I have with their pay-per-views is, since the inception of the network, almost 6 years ago, maybe almost 7 years ago, that, you used to pay $40 for these pay-per-views every month, sometimes more. And now they give you just that $9.99 worth of entertainment, it seems. And especially during COVID, since they've really been shortening up the pay-per-views. But there's still people out there that are buying it on pay-per-view. They're still still to pay that $40 for it. And I'm glad I'm not one of them, because it's not worth the $40 anymore.
No, it's not. But I mean, even if it was back at the old pay-per-view model, and it's too much. It's oversaturation. It's too much. It's always been too much. Like, thank God they don't do 24 pay-per-views a year now. But it's down to a little bit more than 12. That 12 to 15 range. But you can't develop anything when you're having a pay-per-view every 2 to 3 to 4 weeks. Like, what's the longest gap between pay-per-views?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, what? It used to be Royal Rumble into WrestleMania, but they threw Roadblock or whatever stupid pay-per-view that is in between those now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they Elimination Chamber they did for a while. Roadblocks, been there. So yeah,
it's too much. They can't. You have no time to develop storylines to get people interested. It's literally just on to the next thing, and let's throw these two people together, have them disagree over something stupid, and then that'll be our pay-per-view blow off.
It used to be, as soon as Rumble ended, that was the build to Mania. And now it's like you said, there's that pay-per-view Roadblock right there, and that's where the build starts after that anymore. It's like, so you've really limited your WrestleMania season, the excitement, because it used to be 8 weeks were great TV building up to WrestleMania, and it's just
they do not know how to do long-term storytelling anymore. They don't.
No, they don't. They haven't for a long time.
So, I mean, if you look at the feuds that have gone on the longest, they've all been crap. Raw Duffy storyline, it's been on for 7-8 months. It just came to a conclusion, and it was, I didn't enjoy it at all. Like, it wasn't good. So yeah, I mean, but whatever. I will say this. Like always, the talent goes out and performs, whether it's Survivor Series, Raw, SmackDown. They go out and they do what they can with what they're given. The main event was hard hitting. I enjoyed the main event between Roman and Drew. It was a lot better match than what I was expecting from them two, given what them two have done with each other in the past. So I enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. I like it. We'll see where things break off from here. But, I don't want to say I told you so, but I think I told you so that Lana would be the sole survivor for Team Raw in the women's Survivor Series match.
You had to put that out in the universe. You had to.
when you text me and you were like, "Fucking Steve putting shit up in the universe," yep, that's. I said it on the prediction show. I said, "What if?" Or don't you think that they would do this? Yeah. So the 9 weeks of Lana, or 8 weeks of Lana going through a table are over. She won. She was the lone survivor of Survivor Series, and then Monday night her and Asuka beat Nia and Shayna in a tag team match. So I think this is trending to them two getting a tag team title match against Nia and Shayna in a tables match at TLC.
Sure. I mean, you're booking this now, so go ahead.
And then and Lana and Asuka will be the women's tag team champions, as well as Asuka being the Raw women's champ.
Yeah.
Book it. Merry Christmas.
Asuka doesn't need it. You know, she had her nice reign with Kairi Sane. So a tag run isn't needed, but yeah, whatever. I don't know what the hell they're doing anymore on Raw. So,
well, apparently Mustafa Ali's back on main event. So I mean, Retribution was yeah.
They don't end up being their show. They'll end up taking it over like the NWO.
This is the problem. This is the problem with Vince and where he's at nowadays with the show. Even if you look on SmackDown, you take Retribution and you take Lars Sullivan, and just those two examples, right? Both were perceived to be major players, high on his list, wanting to get the push. Both are nowhere to be seen.
I mean, I'm not upset about Lars, but
no, neither am I. I'm just saying that it's the ADD, short attention span that Vince has, and if you're not a Reigns, an Orton, Rollins, Bray / The Fiend, if you're not like that upper tier, then you're hit or miss. You're on or off. Bully Ray says it all the time. You're the flavor of the month, kid. Baskin Robbins, I have 31 flavors to choose from, and this month you're going to be my flavor. And after that, we'll see if you ever get booked again.
We can take that back to what you were just mentioning about the pay-per-views, how it's so oversaturated. I think that has a lot to do with it. Whenever he has a pay-per-view to do every month, he needs to figure out who they're going to put in. I think that's part of the reason why he has his flavors of the month. Maybe if there were pay-per-views only every 3 to 4 months, maybe he would have to, stick with the storyline that he develops.
And I don't even you have all these people that write the shows on creative, right? These big creative teams, multiple writers. Hell, they're even posting writing positions online now for the company. So, if you want to write for WWE and if you have experience in that, then go ahead and submit your application. They're hiring right now.
They need to get rid of the writers. I know they're not going to, but they need to get rid of the writers.
But the thing is you. So a lot of the people aren't into wrestling and don't write wrestling, don't know how to write wrestling.
Yeah.
But the worst part is that they have these teams, creative teams on both Raw and SmackDown. They write a show, they put the show together. It gets submitted to Vince, and what's he do? He tears it up.
Yeah.
He rewrites the show. So in the end, everybody bitches about creative, but there's really one person in creative, and it's Vince. If he's gonna rewrite everything, and half the time he's rewriting shows as they're ongoing, what is the point in having creative if you're just gonna tear up everything that they do and jump from person to person? You can't get anything accomplished that way. That's why they don't have stars. The biggest thing that stood out to me watching Survivor Series is, where are your stars?
And that's been an ongoing issue. I think that the past 10 years, they've never had as good of a talent roster as they do, because they have so many people that they're stacking. The talent's there, it's just none of them have been created to be that next generation.
And I get the whole idea behind, Bully Ray says this too, and I've heard it from other people as well on different podcasts. But Cena was the last above and beyond star that you'll see come out of WWE, because now nobody's built that way. It's WWE and our superstars, not Roman Reigns from the WWE. It's WWE with Roman Reigns. The Shield, almost like the NFL, the Shield is put out there more than the talent. So I don't think unless they completely change it. Cena, to me, Becky to a small extent, but Cena to me was the last huge above and beyond, bigger than wrestling star that shined above everybody else. You're not going to see that from WWE with how they are now.
I'll disagree with that. I think that it's just difficult right now. I'm not even saying like the time frame that we're in. I just don't think they have invested into anybody as much as they invested into Cena. Because I mean, you take it back. If you look at, you're kind of like Mount Rushmore-ish people that have led the WWE. It goes back to Bruno, then to Hogan, then to Austin, then to Cena.
If you want to categorize it as that, but there's,
and it's like
so
they wanted Roman to be it, but
eras wise, yes, you can categorize it as that way. But even in each of those eras, you take Hogan, right? Yes, the Hogan era, okay, but you still had Savage, you still had, Piper, you still had, other superstars that were as popular. I mean, to me, you can make the argument at some point in time that Ultimate Warrior was more popular than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
so you still had
Rock with Austin.
You have Rock with Austin. You know what I mean? Cena, you have Edge, you have Orton, you have Punk for a little bit.
Mixed in there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like you have that other talent that could be perceived to be on the same level as those top stars at times throughout those eras, if you're categorizing it that way.
Yeah.
Now you don't even have the top star. You're going to say Roman?
Yeah, I'd say Roman's
okay, but Roman is a small sample that only starts at SummerSlam this year. Because before SummerSlam this year, you can't put Roman there.
No. They tried.
Based on how he was booked, based on fan reaction, the smart market, the internet wrestling community and everything else, but no, you're not gonna. We don't want him as the guy. So okay, but if you go circa Roman SummerSlam till now, even though it's just a very small sample size, let's see, over a year or two where we're at and where Roman is. But I mean, you look around, you really don't see superstars on that roster. You have great wrestlers, you have great talent, but as far as the WWE larger than life superstars, I don't think you see it right now. And looking at the card on Survivor Series just pulled it out even more to me. It made it even more evident. If you put up the graphic for the men's teams and you look at those 10 individuals, those 10, I mean, come on, realistically, how many of those are true stars? How many of those would have made it? How many of those people would have made it in? And I'm not saying this in a comparison ways, but if you were to take any of those 10 people and put them into the locker room with the individuals that were in the Attitude Era as far as star power, how many of those 10 would be successful?
The only one that comes to the top of my head is AJ Styles.
AJ, and then I'll up you KO.
Okay.
Just because of him being able to be on the mic and the freedom he back then. Rollins a great talent, but again,
and they pushed on him in that match, but I think that was just to write him off TV. But
I mean, that's because he won't work with Riddle at all.
Okay.
At all. Absolutely at all. Hates Riddle. He said he will never wrestle Riddle. ever, will never work a match with him, ever, based off of the allegations and everything else that's come out when he's done. So Rollins was firm in that standpoint, and as soon as I see him do it, I said, "Oh yeah, that's because of how he is with Riddle." So, but I'm just saying, I think what's hurting. I mean, it's a lack of star power. It's a lack, like it's the perfect shitty storm right now for them.
Yeah, I see
COVID.
this as
It's lack of star power. It's lack of storytelling. It's people being injured. It's just a perfect shitty storm for them right now, and it's a lot of it is not good.
No, I really see that this is like a repeat of the 93 to 96 era, where they were just shit and they had a hard time staying afloat because they were such shit. And, they didn't have this, they had, Brett, and they had, Shawn to help carry it. And I kind of think that Roman's not Shawn, but I think Roman's in that lead role right now. And I think that the talent just underneath, isn't where it needs to be. I think we will get there again. Like, I don't think that's seen as the last era that we're ever going to see. I think we will have it again. It's just going to take a little bit more time, and it might take Vince to leave to have the next era.
How many years has Roman been on the main roster?
Oh God, since what? 2010? Maybe a little bit less, but
I mean that should go to show you right now, like how much more time you need to define an era if he's already been up for a decade, if not less.
And I mean, and you got to take into consideration there too, Cena was high at the beginning of the era, whenever he came in still, and then fans just don't get over with him, and didn't for what?
I really don't think and we can get into this more at a different point in time as far as that goes. Like, I don't want to take up too much more time on this in Bell because we got other stuff to hop into. I just think that it can't all be blamed on COVID in 2020. These issues are for them, and I do not see how they're gonna get out of it.
No, I agree. This isn't a COVID-related issue. This has been a long time issue that I think has been there for at least a good decade now.
Here's what I'll say to tie this into a bow for now, and we can jump back into it at a different point in time on a different pod. But for 20 years, right? So 2000 to basically to 2020, right? Mm-hmm. WWE ran unopposed. Yeah. Realistically, unopposed, right? Nobody else to push you, nobody else to challenge you, nobody else to make you stay sharp. There was no iron sharpens iron. There was nobody for you to bang, metals with back and forth. Yeah. It was just you out there doing whatever the hell you wanted. And that 20-year process, now that there is competition and there is other creative and there are other companies out there that are working together and moving talent around and everything else, it's forcing them to have to get back to being the top dog that they were 20 years ago, and they don't know how to do that. They haven't done it for 20 years. Mm-hmm. So in some ways, to me, they're almost behind. They're behind the 8 ball. They're not out in front of it like they used to be. And it's not just, these are smaller, so we can buy your bigger talent and you can just stay little Bo Peep. Like, no, you have real competition. You have real people doing things that are working with other promotions and everything else. So it's all coming together, and it has them on their heels to where they're struggling. And it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes them to rebound and bounce back. But in my eyes, they're behind the 8 ball in a lot of the ways because they got to rest and relax and just lean on, we're WWE, we're the only one in town, so it doesn't matter what we do because people are going to continue to watch. Now, not so much.
Yeah, and my last comment on that will be, JR talked about that in his new book too, in Under the Black Hat, where he said he saw the downfall of the company being when around 20 years ago, the same time, whenever Vince started bringing in like the writers, and he started bringing in, when they became a publicly traded company and they started hiring more executives, and they weren't people that were needed to fit the role. They were brought in to specifically be the yes men to Vince. And whenever Vince needed a sounding board of people telling him, no, this isn't a good idea, they were telling him yes. And he saw that as the way of Vince only getting his way, and he wasn't willing to start listening to other people again. And he's been doing that now for 20 years, so he's not changing.
Court Bauer was on Jericho's podcast, and them two both telling stories with each other said if it's a fart, dick, pee, or shit joke, Vince pops, and that's what gets over with him.
No.
Well, that doesn't work with an audience that it doesn't translate anymore. So I don't know what they're gonna do. But all right, enough of that. Did anything from SmackDown?
Honestly, the only thing I found entertaining on SmackDown was a brief 30-second when Billie Kay came out to the commentary team.
Oh, she's great. Here's my headshot and my resume.
And as you can see, I have an extensive background in talking. I was like, that's it. I was like, that's the best segment of SmackDown. That was the best segment of SmackDown in my eyes. How sad is that?
Okay, I will give SmackDown credit in this sense. They had a thread, and the thread ran throughout the show. And whether or not you liked the thread, it was consistent, and it went through the entire show.
It did.
So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from this standpoint because it got to me seeing KO back to being KO.
Yeah.
I go back to the question that I posed and we've talked about multiple times. If you look at the SmackDown roster, who can challenge Roman realistically at this point in time? And there's two names. You have Owens and you have Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and I think we all thought Daniel Bryan was going to be the first one, but I'm kind of okay with Kevin Owens getting the TLC match.
Well, and we don't even know if that's the case because rumor has it is that today the rumor mill is Bryan potentially could be TLC and Rumble.
It'll get changed 20 more times before.
Roman was really good throughout the show. Again, he's white hot on fire right now. He hasn't done anything you look at and go, he could have did that better. Whether it's facial expressions, whether it's the way he walks, whether the way he stands, how he talks, cadence of his speech, whatever it is, he's knocking out of the park right now. And Heyman has been so great with him because it's a different Heyman than was with Brock Lesnar. Heyman talks if he has to, but Roman's carrying the stick, and Heyman is just back there using his expressions and body language to emphasize the points even more. I mean, even around ringside, you don't hear Heyman he would yell at Brock watch out or get up or you know what I mean. Like with Roman, he doesn't do anything. He stands there, he holds the belt, and again, it's all facial expressions and body language. So that package and that continues to be the main bright spot on SmackDown. But yeah, like you, I was disappointed in the show last night.
Paul, I really enjoy because it's almost like a different evolution of Paul because with Brock, he's the hype man and the advocate. Right. That's why he's always sitting there on the mic. He's always screaming around ringside. But with Roman, it's more like he's back to more of a manager role, like a traditional manager.
But it's not even that because it's he talks when Roman lets him talk. Yeah. When Roman doesn't talk,
it's almost it's almost more of like where with Brock he's selling you on Brock. With Roman, it's more I'm with him because I like him. It's an adoration type thing. I've known his family my whole life. His family got me into the wrestling business. I'm with him because I want to be with him.
But bro, it's almost like he's afraid of Roman.
It works. I mean, who would have thought it was going to work? But it works.
Absolutely works. Absolutely works. I think we're getting Bianca Belair and Bayley.
Yeah. Looks like we're still going to stick with Sasha and Carmella too.
I'm okay with that.
two good women.
I'm all right with that.
I don't. It's been a while since I've really seen Carmella wrestle, so we'll see really what she has in the ring. But
They didn't have her wrestle after she won what, Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
she was with R-Truth for 7 months.
Yeah,
doing the dance
Dancing.
skits and everything else, like she said, like she cut in the promo last night. So, all right, that's enough main roster. Anything from Wednesday night?
Yeah, let's start with NXT. Really, NXT's whole thing was building towards War Games, which is going to be this upcoming weekend. So it was a decent show for building towards War Games. I can't say it was a great complete episode, but it was a decent show that kept the build. So hopefully this upcoming Wednesday continues that momentum to get you excited for the War Games event. I think it was the opening match, and it was definitely a surprise. Ember Moon and I believe Candice wrestled, and they kind of came out, and after the match, there was a little bit of a brawl around the ring. It seemed like Toni Storm was coming out to save Ember Moon, and then Toni Storm turned on Ember, and I can't say anybody saw that coming, that there was going to be that quick of a heel turn for Toni. But
right.
Not that Toni was really a heel in NXT UK or anything, but I think this is going to be more of a character for her than just her coming around, just being with just Toni.
So what does that do as far as, because it's going to be 4-on-4?
Yeah.
Right? So does that mean Raquel's not going to be in War Games? Like who, because originally we thought it was going to be Raquel and then Candice and Indy. But if you're flipping Toni over, who are you not putting on Candice's team, or who's not going into the cage? To me, it would be Raquel, because she's like the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So you could leave her out. She doesn't have to get in there. Maybe she's not ready for it yet. I don't know how green she is. Like I don't know what you do for the team now. And then if you flip to the babyface side, you take Toni off. So that leaves you with Shotzi and Ember. So now you have to make up 2 women. Do you add Io and Rhea? And that's your 4? And you don't have the women's title at all on War Games? Like, I don't know where you go with that now that they turned her a week before the match. Like, to me, do the turn and War Games. Do the turn in the match.
Yeah.
Why
Maybe
do it now?
Do that because of Dakota's turn. Was that last year that she turned?
Yeah, Tegan, but I'm talking about actually inside the cage in the match. Do it.
No,
don't do it like Dakota did it. Do it like Luger did it back in the day, inside the cage. Like doing the turn now does nothing but it puts into question who's going to be on the babyface team now.
Yeah,
because you had 3 searching for 1, now you have 2 searching for 2, and I don't know. Besides Rhea, I don't know what other 2 baby faces are on the NXT women's roster right now that you can put in that makes sense for this match. Which means Wednesday night you're going to have to do something on the go home show to complete the women's team again. Like, why are you doing this one? Days before the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
NXT doesn't into this booking wise. Normally NXT is, A, B, C, D, E, and we have contingencies F through J. NXT rarely runs into this where they're booking stuff and their stuff isn't already panned out before the pay-per-view. We don't know who's going to be on teams now. It's just like Survivor Series on the main roster. Who's on the men's team? Who's on the women's team? Oh, it's the Friday before. Oh, let's just hand you the spot.
Yeah.
So now you're running into the same issue where, we need 2 babyface women to be on the team. So let's just hand you the spot. And now we don't have any build or any animosity between the women where we initially thought we would.
It looks like for Candace's team, it's going to be Candace, Dakota, Raquel, and Tony. Looks like that's going to be your 4. That's what they're advertising right now.
Candace, Dakota,
Raquel, and Tony.
So they're taking Indy out.
It looks like that.
Okay, I can see that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Either Indy or Raquel were going to be the ones that were going to be left out. Flip Tony. So if you want to leave Indy out, that's fine. You know, she'll be the one trying to get in there to save to save Candace at some point in time or whatever. You know what I mean? Like something like that. But that's fine.
So most likely, then this would be my guess, not confirmed, but this would be my guess. That's going to be Shotzi, going to be Rhea, going to be Ember, and possibly Io.
So again, 4 days away from the pay-per-view, you're going to add in Rhea and Io, who just went through a hell of a match against each other, into this 7-person women's feud that they have nothing to do with and have no, like, they don't connect to anybody. There's no 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here. We're not getting to by Rhea, touching any dots.
I don't think Rhea and Raquel are done, so you can kind of connect the two of them together. Since Raquel's,
but they had their match and that was it. Like, there's been nothing continued. So to me, that's over with. Like I said,
I didn't expect it to be over. I thought they were going to continue, and they really did just abruptly end it. So that would be my connection, is just continue that with Rhea and Raquel. You got Tony and you got Ember. You got Shotzi and Candace, and then really Io doesn't have anything with Dakota, but Io is just the champ, so she connects with everybody technically.
Well, Io and Candace have battled for majority of this year. They've had 2 or 3 matches, and they, that the turn was what it was between them two. So I get it, but at the same time, like I said, for it to be war games, the blow-offs of all blow-offs.
Yeah.
When you compare this to the men's War Games match, it's night and day.
It is.
As far as having the lead and the build into what is a traditional War Games match. It's night and day. Doesn't even make sense.
Let's dive into the men's.
After the turn, if they don't turn Tony, then it makes sense based off of what we've seen up until that point. So Wednesday night, they're going to have to do a lot to tie that up and wrap it up into a bow to go, oh, hey, this makes sense as far as these 8 women stepping into what is, one of the most hellacious matches that there is in wrestling.
Yeah. And I mean, the men's match really is what you said. It's the definition of the blow-off match. And, this past week, Pete Dunne defeated Kyle O'Reilly in a ladder match to give undisputed, or not, what are they calling themselves?
The Kings of I call them the Kings of NXT, but they're the best 4-man group in professional wrestling.
So
they don't even actually they haven't given them a true name yet.
Okay.
So fans are calling them the Kings of NXT.
Okay. So the Kings of NXT have the
advantage
going into the War Games match. So the thing I don't know going in is who's going to win. I keep going back and forth on who I think is going to win. Like what makes sense, what doesn't. If this is the payoff, then I think I definitely see Undisputed Era winning. But if this isn't it and they continue this feud going on, if these guys are sticking around for a bit, then I see the Kings of NXT, winning on at War Games. It's just that's what I just keep going back and forth with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hyped for it. I like the way they built to it. I think the more interesting aspect to it, and it could have just been the one-off, but to me, Balor bringing Undisputed Era back is is a tie-in that I want to see something develop out of.
Yeah.
If you just brought Balor back and you hyped that whole episode up for him to make an announcement, and all he did was bring back Undisputed Era, then what's the point? That was just because what? You're trying to pop a rating? You want a number? Balor's been off TV, so I don't know. Like, to me, I'll see where that goes. I gotta think, it'll. I mean, honestly, this run with McAfee and Birch and Lorcan and Pete Dunne, like, this will go as long as McAfee's around, right? Mm-hmm. So as long as he wants to continue to do this, he talked on his show about after, he always wanted to do it and been a lifelong fan and, training and bought the ring himself and all, the on and on and on. Steps in, does an amazing job for a person that's never wrestled a professional wrestling match before in his life. But after that match, he caught it. He got that bug. He got the wrestling bug. It nipped him. He had his taste. He got it. Something that he felt like he should be doing his whole life. So now he's on this run with the boys. Take a selfie, say cheese. It'll last as long as he's around. I don't know what deal he signed, what type of deal, what type of commitment he's given to them. We'll see. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But it'll be as long as he wants to stick around.
Yeah, and I could definitely see, even if this would be it temporarily, he's coming back. This isn't going to be it. He'll come back when he's free or has the time or whatever. This isn't going to be, we knew that match wasn't one and done because he, works with WWE and NXT and he has before. So, yeah, whenever they need him, I think they'll call on him or whatever.
And I mean, kudos to him for making that big of an impression that they wanted to bring him back.
Yeah.
Like the thing with him and Cole built up over so much time, and it was done really well that you didn't know, was it a work? Was it a shoot? Was it a work that turned into a shoot? Was it a shoot that turned into a work? Like, and even if you ask people now, if you do the Family Feud, we pulled 100 people and asked this question. You're not gonna get a consensus answer on, well, was it a work? Was it a shoot? So to me, that speaks volumes of how good it was done.
And we talked about this, I believe, like building up to their match and everything, and before. The best stories are always the ones that blur the line.
Based in reality.
Yeah.
Yep. Based in reality, blur the line. That's it. So, all right. Well, speaking of blurring the lines, if you don't have anything else from NXT, I'm going to use that to what they call as a segue over to AEW.
Look at you.
Look at me putting on my professional cap this morning. So let's segue over to AEW and Dynamite. You want to blur lines, then let's just jump right in and start with Cody and Taz.
That was a hell of a segment.
Great.
I mean,
Taz... Great. Pissed off, fuck the world. Taz is the best Taz. He was that persona in ECW. I popped. That was a huge Taz mark.
Yeah. I remember how much of a Taz fan you were when ECW was going, when he was at the height of his popularity, and it really was. That was ECW Taz at his best.
Yep.
I mean, we haven't seen that Taz in so long, and I've enjoyed Taz the whole time he's been in AEW, on like whether he's been an announcer or as the manager of this group. But yeah, that was the best promo from Taz so far.
Yep. And then Cody bringing his son into it, and like, I didn't when he brought it up, I didn't, when they were doing the Ray and Dominic thing. Let's just compare this, right? Because it's father son, major star, Taz, Ray, right? Well, some would put Ray above Taz, but whatever. We're not here to argue that at this point. When they were doing the Ray and the rollout for Dominic, I gave the old eye roll.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, okay, I get it. It's your son. Like, you're getting opportunity because he's your son, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? I don't know how old Taz's son is. Like, by looking at him, he didn't look like, he was 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
By looking at him for that brief second, right? But when Cody did it, I was like, oh shit, you fucked up. And I thought what really drove it home and what blurred the lines even more, here we're back to the blurred lines, right? Based on reality, right? What did Taz do? He dropped the mic. He dropped his mic to make it seem like we're gonna have a one-on-one conversation, just me and you, Cody, right? Cody lowered his mic so you could still pick up what was being said. And what did Taz say? I can't believe you just did that.
No.
You crossed the line. You went too far. And it's like that's how it's done.
Yeah.
That's how it's done. One person, you see Taz drop his mic. So that cue, that visual is letting you know, okay, this is supposed to be a private, these words that are going to be exchanged are going to be private between me and you. Not for everybody else that's there, not for the people watching on TV, me and you. And Cody lowers his microphone so it's out of the picture from the TV screen. Can't see it on camera, but it's there to pick up the words. And Tad just, you effed up. You crossed the line, brother.
And it's like whatever battle this was before, it's intensified even more now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, people were bitching about the FTW belt. What kind of belt is it? Why is it not recognized? Is it recognized? Taz has gone on and explained it over and over and over again. But he went to Tony and everybody else and said, hey, listen, I got to keep explaining this thing to these people. Let's turn it into an angle. Let's run it where you're going to put respect on FTW's name and you're going to recognize it as a legitimate championship in your company.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to run with. So, okay, great. Give me that. And then you can let me get Cody and Cage going at it for the FTW belt right off the bat. You have Darby and Starks and Will Hobbs or whatever. Like, give me Cody and Cage and let them two go at it for the FTW belt. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But this is like, when's the last time you seen Taz put on a Taz mission?
One Night Stand, 2006.
That's probably it, right? I didn't see him do it in TNA at all.
Not that I remember.
Even with the Aces and Eights thing, I don't remember him putting it on. Maybe when he was the manager for Samoa Joe, but I don't even remember him doing it then.
No.
Like,
he doesn't get physical very often.
Seeing him slap that on Cody, just like that was the instantaneous just flow of memories. And I just it was like flashbacks of him just slapping it. Like it was like Sabu, the franchise, RVD. Like it was just bang, 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 Bam Bam Bigelow, just bang, bang, bang. Like it was just one after the other flashbacks. Slapped it on him. And what made it even better was Cody was out like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a 30-second bulldog choke. It wasn't, a 25-second guillotine with one man jumping up on the other man's hips. No, it was on and Cody was out in less than 5 seconds. Bam.
That's how you make stuff legitimate, that you sell it that way. And that's exactly they both sold it and it was perfect.
So done well.
The only thing, and it's not even a complaint because I know that it's so difficult to say, was JR called it the Taz mission. I just wish I wish Excalibur just would have called it the Gata Hajime.
Right. That was all. That was all. That was all. All I needed was I just wanted to hear Joey Styles. Oh my God! Like just one time, one time but perfectly done well. Another segment done really well. Moxley hopping on Omega as he's standing in the entrance ramp.
Yeah.
Kenny, I tweeted this out and I don't know what you think, but Kenny he cut what was his best promo in AEW since he started.
My dad can kick your dad's ass.
That was the only part that I didn't like.
Okay.
I could have done without it. But again, that's Omega being Omega.
Yeah.
Like that's him. That's his, humor style, whatever you want to take it as.
I just liked it because it was kind of like, it was that heel thing. Just like, oh, you want to talk about your dad? Like, your dad's not shit. Right. Kind of like how I took it, and just like,
yeah, I took it the same way. And like I said, I didn't see much of the cleaner in New Japan, so I'm interested to see what that character looks like and how that character acts and how he talks and everything else. And if I'm gonna get like douchey one-uppy heel, like, oh, your dad's great, fuck your dad. Like, my dad will beat your dad's ass. Like, okay, like I'm all for that. So I'm fine with me.
This episode of AEW this week really sold me on next week.
It did a tremendous job. Tremendous job of getting me excited for War is Coming.
Yeah. And I didn't say that before Full Gear. You know, we kind of didn't care for this, you know, the Go Home show for Full Gear. So technically the Go Home show for another episode of Dynamite, you know, I was all invested for. You know, I got excited for that. I'm not a Moxley fan, but this match, you know, the past couple weeks, you know, all the promos backstage and everything has got me excited for it. And
so you wait. I know you're not a Moxley fan, but that promo he caught in the ring, come on.
Yeah, no, I had no problem with any of the build-up.
Remember the King, you better not miss. Kenny Omega's finger, you steady your hand, point, and take your shot. I was like, oh, okay, let's go. I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah. On
Wednesday night. I am. They, like you said, they did an excellent job. You know, and even the opening of the show, like you have Hangman and Silver. Silver's a little freaking powder keg. It just, you know, Jim Ross called him Meat Man or Man Meat, something like that.
I mean, you call him Man Meat.
Yeah, like, but it fits. Like, you know, he can go in the ring. Like, good opener. I mean, AEW really rarely misses on openers.
It actually, I think the match only went like to the 12-minute mark, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, because that was actually a short match for the opening, but it was a great match. Yeah.
Yep. You know, Jericho and Hager against SCU. You know, I guess we're getting a little inner circle SCU beef or feud. I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. Considering this was the first time ever that Jericho and Daniels touched, you know, it makes me mad as a wrestling fan that we didn't get the, you know, say 10 years ago, I get the Fallen Angel versus Y2J.
Yeah, like in their prime.
Yeah, like those two would, like, Lion Salt versus the BME, like you could, like,
oh my
so
god,
many ways you can go with that. Like, that prime Jericho and prime Daniels, and even this week with Kazarian, like Kazarian is so, I don't want to say he's underrated, but like if you get him, you look at like that he had with Angle years ago in TNA, like you put him back then with Jericho too, like. But yeah, the Daniels and Jericho, you know, that kind of makes me mad that I didn't get to see that when they were in their prime.
Yeah, I'll say this with Daniels too, but the point I want to make is for Kazarian, that I feel like Kazarian doesn't age. I feel like he just gets better and better, like as he goes on. I felt that way with Daniels too for a bit, but I don't know if because he's head of talent relations that maybe he's, you know, just keeps taking a step back more in the company.
So they're both what? They're both 50 years old, right? Because Jericho just turned, they're both 50. So that's crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. So, all right. Anything else from Dynamite? Like you said, I think they did a really good job. Winter is coming. You know, they're tweeting out different graphics as the days have gone on with Wars here, with like the icy background in that with individuals and matchups. I mean, for a person that's never watched Game of Thrones,
me either.
I can see if you did watch that show, how this would be even hyped up even more than just a regular wrestling fan that's excited to watch it on Wednesday night.
I mean, it's good marketing, and I don't know if they're doing this because, you know, it being on TNT and that's the whole HBO family or what, or if they got the rights just to do it. But I mean, it looks great. The graphics look great and everything. The only thing that I was really questioned about with AEW this week, and I think, you know, we'll see where this goes. I was really surprised at the ending, I was surprised that Butcher and the Blade beat Pac and Phoenix.
I'm not. Lucha or Pac and Phoenix don't need that win there.
Just because Pac's a little more protective on his wins and losses. So
who took the pin?
I think Phoenix did.
There you go.
Yeah. But I was it surprised the hell out of me when Lance Archer came out. Like I didn't see where that really fits, and I know they were trying to say that he was arguing with Eddie Kingston a bit, but
goes back to Eddie and him, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Like the match was good. We'll see where it comes out of. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a view on it right now.
Because it kind of felt like it was more of a face turn for Lance Archer too at the same time. I don't know if that's how they play it out, but
if he's gonna get back on this murder hawk streak and everybody dies, like he's been cutting promos on, then he's gonna have to do this, multiple times in multiple weeks, on mid card guys, on bottom feeders, jobbers, on main event. Like if you want to build him back up to be that's title worthy again, then you're gonna have to have him come out and do this and get over on people and run through people for a couple weeks here in a row to get me to buy back in. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. If they're going with like him and I don't know. I'm trying to talk myself into it right now after a minute and a half clip to end the show. Because to me it didn't make much sense, but we'll see.
Yeah. That's what just got me lost at the end there. But other than that, it's like, I thought it was a solid show overall with AEW this week, and interested in seeing how the episode goes next week. All
right. Some other things to just briefly touch on here before we wrap up Bell to Bell for this week. Impact Women's Knockouts Tag Team Tournament is ongoing, and this week the big announcement as to who Jordan Grace's tag team partner would be was Jazz.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that. That's interesting.
Yes. So Jazz came back. Was announced to be Jordan Grace's partner in a backstage segment. Jazz cut a little promo, saying she's been WWE champion, women's champion. She's been NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. In her last hurrah here before she retires, she wants to go out as TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions.
Hey, so, they could be the team to watch then.
Yep. So Jazz and Jordan Grace are in there, two heavy hitters. Yeah. Jazz is a woman who does not get talked about as much as she should when it comes to the Litas and the Trishas and the Victorias and Gail Kims and those women that paved the way for your Charlottes, your Beckys, your Sashas, your Baileys, your Thunder Rosas. Like, to me, Jazz is a name that's often left out, and her name shouldn't be left out. She should be thrown in there with all the rest of them, because if you look at her career, it's been a hell of a run for somebody that
for sure
gets overlooked as much as she does.
Yeah, and I mean, there's sometimes where people don't have life outside of WWE, and she really did find life in the independents and NWA and groups like that after. So, because she probably hasn't been with WWE for a good at least 15 years, would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, she didn't get brought back as a legend actor, as a surprise for Revolution when they did the all women's pay-per-view. Why? I don't know the backstory there. There may be a legitimate reason why she was never asked, or maybe she was asked and turned it down for her own reasoning, like whatever the case may be. But I mean, like, again, that's somebody that you would think would be brought back for that type of situation and wasn't, given her run
Yeah.
in ECW, in WWE, like you said, NWA, on Independence. So yeah, but we'll see where that goes.
I'm looking at the bracket here now, and kind of my early on guess for who could have made to the finals was Havoc and Nevaeh, and I'm seeing that Jordan and Jazz are going to be in the same side as them. So
yeah, they'd have to face them two next.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see, who the finals are going to be, because that's going to be a powerhouse match.
Yeah, so that was the other thing from Impact this week. I don't know if you caught it or not. It was amazing, but the return of the phenomenal one, Wee Man,
the Wee Nominal,
one, Hornswoggle, unbelievable, right? How great was that? Oh, it was so good, so good, good.
So Carl Anderson hyped it up the week before, about someone being phenomenal, and you knew where they were going with it.
Oh, they even promoted AJ Styles during the week.
What's that?
They were even promoting AJ coming back week.
So it's like you knew that they were doing something with AJ, you just didn't know how it was going to build up. For it to be Hornswoggle was just. And so this is going to be there's going to be a little bit of a run here with this gimmick. Hornswoggle is going to be AJ Styles for a little bit here as a run. So get ready to see the Wee Nominal one more on Impact Wrestling. But if you haven't seen it, go search it out. It was amazing, done really well. Ethan Page is such a talent, and I loved his facial expressions. Like whenever Carl Anderson came out and was introducing him, and he had that shocked look on his face.
Oh, when the get ready to fly, when that hit, Page's face was like, I thought he pooped himself. Like, I was like, oh my God, like this is fantastic. And then Hornswoggle comes out, and like immediately the expression changes, and then Hornswoggle's like, even Hornswoggle's tweeting stuff out afterwards, like talking like how AJ Styles would talk. Like, it's great. It's just so it's done well. Like, it's comedy in wrestling that's done the right way. Comedy should be done in wrestling.
Yeah.
You get it, you get it. If you don't, it's just a train you're never going to be able to get on.
Yeah. Oh, and if you didn't see, Impact put Turning Point on their YouTube page, the complete event.
Okay. All right.
I didn't check it out yet, but I saw that was on there.
Yeah, don't do that from time to time with different stuff on the YouTube. So I'll have to go out and check that out. I did not catch MLW this past Wednesday night. I was doing some other stuff during the time that it was. I haven't had a chance to go in and watch it, but it was the start of the Opera Cup, the 2020 Opera Cup. So I'm excited to watch how this unfolds. 2019's version was done really well, so I would expect nothing less. From Court Bauer and his team for the 2020 Opera Cup.
Yeah, I watched this week's. Couple good matches. The only thing that I'm not a fan of Tom Lawler, and they really hype him up in MLW. I get it because he's really the type of talent that fits their mold of that hybrid wrestling. And with his wrestling and MMA background, he's a hybrid athlete for them. But
that combat-esque wrestling that they want to present.
My gut's
telling me I don't like him either.
You don't like him either?
I don't like it. No.
My gut's telling me he's winning the Opera Cup this year. So we'll see where the Opera Cup goes. But he advanced, and what's the guy's name that's part of the Dynasty that always wears the earpods?
Rich Holiday.
Yeah, he advanced this week too.
That was my pick. I tweeted it out there. I said, love to see Holiday get it to help push him, up the card more. In MLW, so I'm excited for that. But it was done really well. So we'll see. Like I said, he's my pick, my go-to guy.
And then this week on Primetime Live, there was supposed to be the World Heavyweight Championship title match, the finals of the tournament. Supposed to be against Chris Dickinson and Mike Bennett. United Wrestling Network tweeted out last week that Chris Dickinson's injured. They didn't go into the extent of the injury, how long he's going to be out. So the finals of that have been postponed, I guess, until they figure something out, whether it's him returning or they figure out what to do with the finals. It's a downside, I was looking forward to seeing who was going to be crowned the first champion, but
yeah, I believe I picked Dickinson to win it whenever we went over the brackets when they first came out, just as somebody that it's something that would elevate a talent. Sometimes the talent elevates the belt. In this instance, a belt and a talent elevate each other, honestly, because it's their first ever world champion. So they'll elevate each other from that standpoint. So
Mike Bennett was my pick. I had a feeling that they were going to go with him. So seeing both of them in the finals.
Well, and I don't know if you caught it or not, but he made his re-debut or comeback to ROH.
I saw that.
Came out and saved his good old buddy Matt Taven. So it looks like, what was their group's name back in the day? Yeah, the Kingdom. Looks like a little Kingdom reunion tour maybe kicking off here.
Yeah.
I said I was hoping the pure title tournament would get more eyes on ROH because of how good it was done and the wrestling that was involved in it. Not saying that names like EC3 and Mike Bennett are going to shoot viewership up through the roof. When you sprinkle people like that into the pot of the Briscoes and the foundation with Jonathan Gresham and Jay Lethal and Williams and Rhett Titus, like that's a way to start to get people to notice your product. And I don't know if you've been watching ROH at all, but the Saturday episodes that I record and watch, if I'm not watching it live, they've been done really well. So they have their pay-per-view announced for December. They'll be back, I believe, the 16th or 18th of December. I got to double check that. But
the 18th, Friday the 18th is Final Battle.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. But, it's another avenue of wrestling that was at one point in time the quote-unquote number 2 to WWE. We'll see if they can get some legitimacy back and some viewership on them, because they do put out good wrestling.
Yeah, they do. And I haven't really been keeping up with them, but usually I try to watch Final Battle. So if I watch it this year, maybe that'll get me back interested in it again. Other than that, NWA announced this week that they're going to start a new program this upcoming Tuesday at 6 p.m. on YouTube titled NWA Shockwave. No real idea of what this is going to be, if it's going to feature, brand new matches, or if they're just going to be using footage from the Power tapings before. So we'll tune in this week and find out. But yeah, not sure if this is going to be, just a placeholder until Power returns, or if this is going to be their next, evolution of their programming. But I'm just glad to see them, back as a program instead of just being under the Primetime Live banner right now.
Awesome. Two quick things for me. I know we just touched on MLW briefly, but if you watch MLW or you don't, and you want to get an idea for kind of MLW and maybe some of the talent that they have that you're not familiar with, go to our Twitter account. I'll tweet out a promo here from Joseph Samuel, and it is one hell of a promo. So you're looking for kind of the flavor that MLW can bring to you, I would highly recommend hopping over to the Dunmark's Twitter page and checking that out. And then I have a question to pose to you here to wrap up Bell to Bell. And, we can cover this a little bit, maybe save the true in-depth conversation for it. But I saw it, and, I thought with 2020 working its way towards an end here, I thought it was apropos to bring this up to you to get your thoughts on it. So, tweet went out 3 days ago from at GoPro Wrestling. It says, "We're lucky to be watching wrestling, and it's all thanks to Matt Hardy." And Matt Hardy responded back and said, "I hate to put myself over, but if I hadn't created the cinematic match years ago, pro wrestling probably wouldn't have survived 2020. Major companies only survived through the pandemic because they heavily relied on utilizing my cinematic concepts. The truth is the truth. You're welcome. So I pose this question to you. Given everything that's gone on in 2020 with the pandemic and what we've seen from professional wrestling, does wrestling survive 2020 without the cinematic matches that were brought to us by one Matthew Hardy?
You know me, I'm not a huge fan of the cinematic matches, so they don't do much for me. Probably the only one that I really enjoyed this year was Undertaker and AJ Styles. Other than that, there weren't too many that would be the only one that I'd go back and rewatch again. Like,
you want to go back and rewatch the Stadium Stampede?
No, I mean I enjoyed it whenever it was on, but it's not going to be in my top 5, top 10 matches of 2020.
You won't go watch the Boner Yard match between Sex Ferguson and Chad Too Bad?
I haven't watched that event yet.
Or the El Chico the Luchador versus Chavo Guerrero fight to the death. You won't go back and watch that cinematic masterpiece? I
don't know that one.
Huh.
You're kind of making my argument for me.
Look, honestly, I'm saying it in jest, but realistically speaking, Matt Hardy can be right and wrong at the same time. It is possible to be right and wrong at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you don't believe me, yeah, I know we're Dumb Marks, and this is the Dumb Marks podcast, but that's a bit of truth. You can be right and wrong at the same time. Would wrestling have struggled more without the cinematic match and concept throughout this pandemic? Possibly. Would they have survived? Yeah, I mean, wrestling's been around for 100 plus years. Like, it's not, it's seen, disease and pandemics and world wars, and it's continued on.
Yeah.
Through all of these things. I do think Hardy's right in the sense that the two biggest companies right now, AEW and WWE, two of what you could say arguably are the best matches for each company this year, was a cinematic match. The Stadium Stampede for AEW, and then the Boneyard match for WrestleMania are cinematic matches. Like the Orton Edge Last Man Standing match. That cinematic match. It wasn't cinematic in terms of like Final Deletion and Elite Deletion, that type of cinematic match, but it was a cinematic match. So yeah, he's right and he's wrong. Would they have survived? Yes. Was 2020 better because of cinematic matches? I mean, yeah, if you look back, because some of the arguably the best match of the year is a cinematic match.
Yeah, I think that there's argument for that. I mean, no show other than Talking Choppa Mania, no wrestling promotion really ran one event that was all cinema. So to sit there and say that, cinema matches saved, the year, I think that the argument can be made there. But yeah, I mean, each wrestling promotion did touch on it again this year. It was the first time, because you figure at the beginning when they did this, it was just Impact. And then they brought it to WWE. And, then they brought it to AEW. So it's, at first it was just one promotion was doing it at a time, and now they all touched on it and they all gave their variation of it. Again, they're not my favorite matches ever to watch, so I'm impartial to saying that it saved 2020, but if you like those matches, I could see your argument for it.
But to be clear, Hardy is the one that needs to get the credit for it, regardless of what promotion they're in.
I mean, I think that's arguable too, but
how would you argue that? He was the one that brought it. Like, without the Final Deletion, without the first one, you don't see Bray and Cena in the Funhouse match You don't see Taker and AJ in a Boneyard match. You know, you probably don't see, you know, the elite versus Inner Circle in a Stadium Stampede. Like,
I mean, I think some credit. I'm not going to even say that's credit, but I mean, Vince had the idea back in the 90s, you know, whenever he did the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. You know, it was a different type of match. It wasn't the same type of cinema, but
that was the one and only time like he did it. It wasn't, he never took that and evolved it into either like a short film. It was a taped match, yes, with spots and everything else, but like it's not the same as the cinematic matches that Hardy is talking about.
No,
at least in mine.
Yeah, I mean there is a difference, but yeah,
I didn't want to go too long on it because we've already you know taken up a lot of time here with Bell to Bell. But I just saw that and thought it was interesting to pose a question to you since we're coming up on the end. Yeah. You guys out there, if you want to jump on the Twitter feed and let us know what your answer is to that question, feel free. If you don't give a shit, let us know as well. So, you know, we're good. Anything else for you in Bell to Bell this week?
No, I'm it.
All right, that's Bell to Bell.
Chug, 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 chug.
All right, folks, welcome to Drink of the Week. This week we have Rusty.
Hold on. I didn't. Mark, you not remember how we started the segment? I didn't get off my this week's Drink of the Week segment brought to you by, and then whatever I say.
My bad.
Oh, geez, this show is going well. All right, so because Chris wants to jump the gun on this review for this week's Drink of the Week, I'll make this short and sweet. This week's Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by ordering a shot at the bar and getting it for free because it was the last shot in the bottle.
Nice. I can use that this weekend too.
All right, well, go ahead with your hype train. You must be really into this beer because you obviously skipped right over my intro to the segment.
My bad. I'm ready to drink.
That family gathering went real well, huh?
This week we're doing Rusty Rail Brewing's waffle sauce. Steve, I'm not really familiar with Rusty Rail Brewing. Have you ever had anything from them before?
Never, but I like this label on this bottle here. This is a nice bottle. You know, they got a big stack of Belgian waffles, you know, with looks like maple syrup over it. So it's a maple pecan imperial brown ale.
8.0%.
Woo! These will get you loosey goosey, boy.
Yeah. I might chug this one down.
I don't know. Like I'm hoping, man, if it's 8% and this goes down like water, you're in for some trouble.
A 6-pack can make the weekend fun.
This is not for the lightweights. So if you're not a professional drinker, I don't suggest pounding down 8.0% alcohol beers. Let's get into this and see what we got from the Rusty Rail Brewing Company's out of Mifflinburg, PA. You ever hear of Mifflinburg, PA?
I looked it up. It looks like it's on the eastern side, kind of like if you would do a triangle between State College, Harrisburg, and Wilkes-Barre. It's like right in the middle.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, never heard
shout out to Mifflinburg. Yeah. Shout out to Mifflinburg. Oh, that's gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah.
That is good. That is good beer right there, boy. Wow. You know, sometimes when you drink a higher percent alcoholic beer, like a Mad Elf, you know, some of your Southern Tiers are higher in percent alcohol content wise. I don't want to say it makes the beer taste bitter. Like it can be a turnoff. It can take away from the beer, in my opinion.
You get that higher alcohol percentage, like that burn. You get a little bit more of that. I'm drinking a beer. I don't want to feel like I'm doing a shot of Black Velvet. You know what I mean? But this is one that, like I said, this will get you in trouble. You can drink these rather quickly, and it's smooth. That's the problem. Like you said, if it drinks like water, you can get in trouble. And this is very smooth.
So smooth.
You get a little bit of that burn from the higher percentage, but it's not overpowering.
No, but it doesn't take away from the flavor of the beer.
No, it doesn't.
Like I'm not distracted by it. It doesn't turn me off. Like, it says it's a maple pecan brown ale. It's definitely sweeter, on the sweeter side.
Yeah.
So if you're into your sweeter tasting beers, this is definitely the route that you want to be on for sure.
It's sweet, but it's not overly sweet. The brown ale really cuts with that maple, I think. I'm getting that traditional like brown ale flavor, and definitely getting that maple to make it so smooth. But I'm not really I'm picking up on the pecan at all, or if that's just
no. But I think they've done a good job of, like, if you're eating waffles or pancakes, like, it's a combination of the flavors. One's not outstanding the other, so like you're not getting drowned in maple syrup, losing the taste of a pecan flapjack or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and you brought up the sweetness of it. Like, we reviewed the Yingling Hershey's Porter last week. To me, that was way sweeter than this.
Yes, for sure.
Way sweeter to where I would only drink one or two. This right here,
I'm in trouble.
Oh yeah, I'm hammering a 6-pack of these and not even thinking twice.
Yeah,
sure. Well done. For first time drinking Rusty Rail, I'm gonna have to go in and check them out and see what else they have as far as selections go. Yeah, I would be all over this.
Yeah, I agree.
All over this.
Yeah, it's nothing's overpowering, so nothing's taking away from something else. It all works together. Not really a heavyweight beer, but it's gonna get you there.
Yeah, and I don't, like you said, I don't feel drinking it. I don't feel that the fullness, like if you're drinking a stout or like a Guinness, like it's not a heavy weighted beer either. With it being a darker brown ale, it's not heavy like that. This is like if you're drinking like trying to think of like a brown ale that like a Newcastle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's light to where you can drink them and not think twice about them.
Yeah, like I feel like if this would have been a stout, it would be sitting heavier, and maybe I'd only have 1-2 max. I could really see if I had a 6-pack of this, I could easily see me getting through most of the 6-pack, while I was watching a fight or something.
This is one of the few times where we've done these reviews where I actually wish after I drank a beer that I had a 6-pack of it. Like there's been a couple, of our favorites that we drink, and I go, man, like one was good, but I really wish I had a 6-pack to drink more. This is definitely on that list out of what we've reviewed so far.
And this 100%. Was just a random find too, so it was definitely a good one to.
Hey, sometimes you hit those out of the park. You know what I mean? All right, so on a scale of 1 to 5 sumos, what would you give the Rusty Rail Brewing Company waffle sauce?
I'm thinking 4.2.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 4
for
sure. Yeah, anything less than a 4, I don't think you're really enjoying beer the way that we enjoy beer.
Yeah.
You're reviewing this, so by all means, go out, find this. If you don't have it near you, see if you can get it to you. Like I said, I'm going to go in and check what else Rusty Rail has to see if there's anything else we can find to review on the podcast to see if it's just as good as this waffle sauce. But I am pleasantly surprised by this, and I'm glad that this was a random find that you found when looking for beers to review. And by all means, hats off to them. Great brewed beer here, and something that I will definitely pick up in the future.
Yeah, and I think I found this at Giant Eagle, so it wasn't like I had to go to a special 6-pack shop or anything.
That makes it even better.
Yeah,
when you can go into your local supermarket and find one-offs like this that they're absolutely home runs, that makes it that much better. So
this should be easy to find.
Well done. 4.2 from Chris, 4.0 from me for the Rusty Rail waffle sauce. And as always, when you're listening to us during Drink of the Week, we ask that you pick up your brown paper bags, your 40 ounces, your bottles, your cans, your shot glasses, your red solo cups, whatever you're drinking out of this week. Raise them up high and to good ships and wood ships and ships that sail the seas. But the best ships are friendships, and friends will always be. Salute. All right, everybody. This Week in Sports is once again brought to you by that bitch known as COVID. I don't know how we're going to finish a college football season, an NFL season, anything at this point. I mean, like, let's just run through the list here, right? Obviously, the big to-do ha-ha here in Pittsburgh was the fact that the Baltimore Ravens have had a COVID outbreak that is worse than the Tennessee Titans one way back in the beginning of this season. And the game was supposed to be played Thanksgiving night. It got pushed to Sunday. And yesterday it was announced that the game has been moved back to Tuesday on NBC. The Steelers players have expressed their displeasure with the bouncing around that they've had to do. It seems that they've been the one team that's gotten the short end of the stick when it's come to schedule movement and things of that nature surrounding COVID. People have brought up, well, how come the 49ers played on a Thursday night with 10 people out from COVID, but the Ravens got to push their game back? And yes, I can see the argument there. It's two different cases.
Yeah.
You continuously had players and staffs test positive from Baltimore as the week led on and continued on. The 49ers case, they had people out, but they were isolated. Contract tracing showed, it was isolated cases. The people that were in close contact with were held out, and that was it. Nobody else. Baltimore, it appears like they had some type of protocol breach to where this is absolutely spread like wildfire going through their organization. Like, at this point, I don't like back in with the Titans on October 5th. Roger Goodell sent a memo to the teams warning that teams could be forced to lose draft choices or forfeit games if COVID-19 protocols weren't followed. The memo read in part, protocol violations that result in virus spread requiring adjustments to the schedule or otherwise impacting other teams will result in additional financial and competitive discipline, including the adjustment or loss of draft choices or even the forfeit of a game. At this point, how is Baltimore, they're finding coaches hundreds, thousands of dollars if the mask falls down off them and, off their face for 5 seconds when the camera's on them. Tomlin's even been fined. The organizations are being fined for these masks and everything else. Like, how is Baltimore at this point in time, at this late in the season, after you've sent out this memo, after you had your initial team outbreak that was like your Marlins situation in baseball with the Titans? We saw, the Marlins had it. They were worried about shutting baseball down. Baseball worked through it. And then after that, it wasn't, you didn't hear too much about COVID until, the World Series with the Dodgers third baseman that tested positive and played 8 innings of the final game and then came back out to celebrate. But, you're the NFL. How are you not hammering the Ravens right now for this?
Yeah.
When it's been reported and come out that apparently the strength coach from the Ravens was the one, was not following the protocols and processes, and that's how majority of it has spread throughout the team. I don't understand how you're not coming out now and just absolutely burying the Ravens.
Maybe that's why, because if it's the strength coach that started this all, maybe they don't want to punish the team members. But I mean, hey, everybody's part of the team. The strength coach is part of the team. So
the NFL said it takes all of us.
Yeah.
And to me, you're putting jeopardy. So you're not only this week's game in jeopardy, right? Okay. Steelers get bumped back to Tuesday, right? The Ravens Thursday night game against the Cowboys, that would then get moved to whatever, Sunday or whatever, Monday. That gets moved to Monday. The Steelers would play Tuesday, and then they would play Washington on Sunday, who would have, 10 days, almost 12 days of a bye to prepare for the Steelers, because they played on Thanksgiving just like the Steelers would have played on Thanksgiving, so they would have had the same time off. Now the Steelers go from not playing on Thanksgiving to not playing on Sunday to playing Tuesday to have to turn back around on short day on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days rest to turn around to play another game on Sunday against a team that had 10 days off.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how the league is not going to have to implement. You're done with bye weeks. Tampa Bay and Carolina are only two teams that have byes left, and that's next week. So everybody's done with bye weeks. So you're left with continuing to move games around as far as postponement of dates, Sunday to Monday, Monday to Tuesday, or forfeit games, or implementing the week 18, which would then move everything to a 16-team playoff with 8 teams in each division. So now the 1 seed for this year, which right now is the Steelers, wouldn't even get the bye week, which was, prior to that 18th week, that was the only team that got a bye week was the 1 seed now in each conference. It's just a mess. It really is.
Yeah. And, as we're getting later and later in the season, which makes things more difficult, as you said, but what team's really going to want to have to forfeit a game, especially, hurt their chances at playoffs?
Here's the kicker with the forfeit. If the Ravens continue to test positive and they don't have enough people to play the game on Tuesday night, right? Let's just say that's the case. Okay. And the NFL goes, hey, you're forfeiting the game. The Steelers get a win by forfeit, right? Neither team gets paid for that game. Players don't get paid for that game.
Okay.
So if you're forfeiting games, you're taking money out of pockets. What do people not like to have done to them?
They don't like
money taken out of your pocket. So I can see why the NFL wants to hold out and go like as the last resort. And that was bargained, like that was collectively bargained between the two sides. So you can't, players can't come out and bitch and moan about not getting money. No, that's what you agreed to.
Yeah.
That's your problem for not negotiating that at the time before you were gonna play this season, given the circumstances under a global pandemic. So it's a hot ass mess, man. A hot ass mess.
And we said from the beginning, it's only going to get worse, and and it does as the season progresses. It's getting worse and worse with what's going on.
College football again had multiple canceled. I guess the big headline as far as games being canceled, or the one that has the most impact as of right now, was the announcement last night that Ohio State and Illinois got canceled. That's 2 games canceled for Ohio State out of an 8-game schedule, which means they only have 6 games left to play. By Big Ten rules, you have to play a minimum of 6 games to be eligible for the Big Ten championship, which means that Ohio State would have to go through their last 2 games and not have either one of them get canceled due to COVID. If the one or both were to get canceled, then they're not eligible to play in a Big Ten championship game because they don't meet the 6-game threshold. So we saw the CFP rankings come out Tuesday night for the first time. Ohio State was in the top 4, sitting at number 4. If Ohio State finishes the season, say they finished 5-0, okay? They don't play in a Big Ten title game because they're not eligible. They haven't played the number of games, which is 6. So they're not eligible to play in a Big Ten title game. They're undefeated at 5-0. If you're on the committee, do you still put them in the top 4 to play for the national championship at 5-0, having 3 games canceled?
Yeah. That's a tough one. These are going to be questions that they're really going to have to decide on.
I don't. So it's only interconference games, and then, well, if you're ranking based on interconference games, then obviously team strength of schedules are going to be different, and conference bias is going to come into play as far as, well, that's an SEC team, so they're got to be ranked higher than, like having Georgia ranked ahead of BYU because it's Georgia and they play in the SEC. Well, they have 2 losses, so why are they ahead of an undefeated BYU team?
Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the disrespect BYU got on Tuesday night was insane. They're 8-0. They're going to be playing, 10 or 11 games by the time the season's done. So they have a chance to be 11-0. Granted, they may not have played. They're an independent. So if you look at BYU's original schedule before COVID, it was way harder than what the schedule was that they played this year. But as an independent, they were able to go out and schedule 10 or 11 games with other teams in other conferences to get an actual schedule. If they run the table and go 11-0 and beating people by 35 points, like, how do you not put them in the college football playoff?
Damn.
You're going to put a 5-0 Ohio State team in because it's Ohio State, because they play in the Big Ten? Like, come on. This, like I said, this was the 1 year where they should have expanded the playoff. You put 8 teams in, and, you go that way. And then tell me if this makes any sense. 4-team college football playoff. They came out and said, we're not expanding the playoff. Okay, great. What happens if one of the teams that's in the semifinals gets COVID and can't play?
That's a great question.
Oh, I have the answer for you. The team that's playing against them automatically moves to the championship. The other team would just have to forfeit. They're not putting in a replacement team to play the other team.
So then,
if you're
finals?
So if you have the great question. What about the finals? I have no fucking idea how they're going to get it done. If you're allowing, if you just take the 4 teams that are in the playoff right now, you have Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Ohio State, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you have Alabama play Ohio State, Clemson plays Notre Dame, which will change because them two are going to play each other in the ACC championship game. So that pairing is going to change. I don't see them playing each other, but just for argument's sake right now, right? Alabama plays Ohio State. Alabama comes down with COVID. They don't have enough scholarship players to play the game. The number 1 team, Alabama, went undefeated, right? 10-0. Yeah, they're done. Ohio State is automatically in the national championship game. So a 5-0 Ohio State team that wasn't eligible to play in their Big Ten Conference Championship because they didn't play the minimum number of games, who had 3 games canceled because of COVID, would get into the national championship game by forfeit by a team that had COVID because college football is saying we're not adding any more teams to the college football playoff during COVID. What the hell are we doing this year?
I feel like you're putting this out into the universe more, so this is what's going to happen, and just to make it even more of a clusterfuck than what it already is.
I'm hoping for the most clusterfucks of all clusterfucks.
It's getting there.
Because what you say and what you've done of your college football makes no sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The protocols haven't made sense. Different conferences, different players have to sit out certain days, different times, different number of games. Like, none of it has made sense. So how can you legitimately say at the end of this year that so-and-so is the national champion of college football?
Yeah.
If any title is going to have an asterisk next to it, it will be college football.
Yeah.
Because of all the differences that have gone on. Like, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Hell, even the UFC got hit with COVID this week.
What happened there?
Hop back over here on the Twitter machine. Yeah, so Curtis Blades tested positive. His fight against Derek Lewis is off for UFC tonight, Saturday night. So that main event, they were the main event on the card. That's done and canceled. So they had to switch around and bump the card around for a different main event. But it's like,
it's like just
go back to, huh?
It's just a fight night though, right?
Yes, just the fight night. Yeah, not a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But still, that's a good, like, Blades and Lewis. That's a good fight. Like, that's one I would sit down and watch for sure. So yeah, COVID. Okay, that's off the card. Just I don't know what we're doing here.
I said the other day, I think now that they're starting to get this treatment ready to start going out to people, and they're talking about frontline workers getting it first. I really think after the frontline workers get it, I think the next group that's going to be mandatory are any students and teachers. I think that they're going to be the next group because whenever everybody comes back next fall to school, I think it's going to be mandatory that everybody has had this shot, and because I don't think that they want to have to deal with this shit again, especially for the student athletes.
Pro Football Focus can eat a big bag of dicks. They said that the Steelers are the most overrated in the NFL right now.
How are they overrated?
based off of their algorithm and their stats and analytics, they're the most overrated team. But Bud Dupree tweeted out, "Nobody give a damn about at Pro Football Focus. Every Sunday, a grown-ass man got to line up and get hit in their face when they play us. Ask our opponents, not a computer geek." So, yeah. I feel you, bud. Like, come on now. People are hating on the Steelers. They're the most disrespected 10-0 team.
Yeah.
Like time. If this is the Chiefs at 10-0, if this is the Buccaneers at 10-0, if this is the Patriots at 10-0, this is the Colts at 10-0. Hell, even the Packers at 10-0.
They'd be talking about their dynasties.
The Saints at 10-0. Like, you're all over this, but it's the Steelers, so it's like, oh, well, they haven't played nobody, and Big Ben is actually like the 25th rated quarterback out of all quarterbacks this year, and this, that, and the other, and I don't get. Hey, like I said before, keep bringing the hate. I don't care. Like, we're 10-0. Suck it.
If this was any other team, like you mentioned, they'd be talking about their dynasty. They'd be talking about, is this the greatest team of all time? Is this yada, yada, yada? The marketing machine would be behind it. And for whatever reason, the NFL isn't doing it with the Steelers.
I don't care. I don't think, like Mike Tomlin said, we don't care. So keep bringing it.
Yeah. They're just going to keep winning. We'll see what this week brings with the Ravens game and with Washington after that. But they're just going to keep doing their thing, I think. We got another historic moment for women in sports that seems to be the trend in 2020. The negative that's gone on, another positive. Good to hear positive.
Historic moment for college football. Vanderbilt is turning to women's soccer player Sarah Fuller to be its place kicker on Saturday. She will become the first woman to participate in a Power 5 football game. So shout out and kudos to Sarah Fuller. Hopefully she, gets out there and pounds the rock, kicks it through the uprights, and maybe gets a game-winning field goal there for Vanderbilt in a game to keep the trend for positive vibes for women in 2020. So, hey, I mean, the last time we saw a game-winning kick was in what? Necessary roughness. Scott Barker led him down the field, right? Good on her.
Yeah,
good on Vanderbilt. Hey, you want to know why she's playing? Because they needed a place kicker because of what? COVID. I guess COVID, one positive thing here led to her getting a shot to be the first woman to participate in a Power 5 game for college football. So kudos to her. Yep, kudos to her. Trying to think here if anything else caught my eye in sports. I think again the Steeler hate. Oh, here's one. Here's something for you. You'll love this, right? David Beckham. You know David Beckham, right?
I do.
World famous soccer player, one of the best players of all time, you could say, depending on how you view soccer. But it was announced this week that EA Sports is paying Beckham over $17 million a year to appear as an icon in the FIFA video games. $17 million a year to appear as an icon in the video games. I wish people could see your face right now as we record this on Zoom because it's just so classic, right? As soon as I said that. $17 million a year to appear as an icon in the FIFA video games, which is more money than he ever made during his playing days. So $17 million a year. $17 million a year to just be to have your likeness. It's not him. He's not actually in the game. It's not virtual reality with David Beckham where he's actually playing the game. It's his likeness being used in a video game. 17 mil.
Good for him.
You want to talk about one of the greatest bags ever secured? No wonder why. Who's he married to? Posh Spice or one of the Spice, Sporty Spice, Posh Spice, whatever. Captain Spice, fucking Spice. I don't care. Whatever it is, he just secured one of the greatest bags ever. 17 mil a year.
Yeah, that's insane. Insane. I mean, again, good for him. I mean, I'm sure he was probably just like, I'll throw out a figure and see what happens. And shame on
My
EA.
question is how much money is FIFA generating for EA Sports? Maybe that's why the Madden game sucked, because they're paying David Beckham $17 million a year and he couldn't make any upgrades to Madden. How about that? So all you football players, all you Madden players, the actual football, soccer, as in America it's called, is taking away your Madden 21 budget. It's all going to David Beckham. So there. How about that? Put that on your controller and spin it.
You were just talking about computer geeks a few minutes ago, and I mean, this is what they're doing.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. $17 million a year.
17 million.
Wow, ridiculous.
I can't.
That's all I got for sports. I can't do anything else after that. COVID fucking sucks. Whatever. I secured my first place in my fantasy football league, so I get a first round bye. I'm happy about that. One win away from the money round, so kudos to me and my fantasy co-owner here with the team we assembled, navigated the COVID waters of this year, which is very tough on my dynasty team. So kudos to me. Pat myself on the back for that. I don't have nothing else for sports other than David Beckham is just 17 million a year.
Just one little thing looking forward to is tonight's Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. So we'll see.
Oh, I got so distracted by 17 million about Beckham. I forgot that. Did you see the weigh-ins yesterday?
I did not. No. What happened?
Nothing really. I forgot. What was his name? Jake Paul is fighting Nate Robinson.
Okay.
Whatever his name is. That's gonna be a joke. This pay-per-view had the highest grossing pre-sale buys of any pay-per-view.
So it was only $50, which is cheap for a boxing event. Usually that's a lot more. So
yeah, you're not just getting one fight. There is, I believe, a total of 4 to 5 fights on this card.
Okay.
Don't know any of the people on it. I don't. I looked over it. Not sure. I don't follow boxing that closely, so unless don't really know much about the people on it. But yeah, Saturday night COVID, not much going on. College football wise, not much going on. I may pop down $50 and see. You never know. Here's the thing, because it's Tyson, and you know what Tyson did during his career. Normally, you were paying $50-$60 to watch a 20-second fight.
Yeah.
Tyson would knock you out in 20 seconds in the first round, and that would be over. I am interested to see how many buys it actually does, how much it actually generates. Maybe come to light what these two were actually paid for the fight. Hopefully, this is a one-and-done thing.
Hopefully.
I got a feeling if Tyson comes out and, handles Roy Jones, we may get another Tyson fight down the line. Don't want to see that. 54 years old, 55 years old. Roy Jones is 51 or 52 years old, I believe. Yeah, it makes sense, them two going at it. I think Tyson is going to absolutely destroy him. I could be wrong. Maybe his chin doesn't have a chin no more, and Roy still has some quickness where he can bob and weave and get out of the way of some punches. But as we saw the tail end of Roy Jones Jr.'s career, once his chin went, that was it for him too. So you see it all the time. Anderson Silva in the UFC, Chuck Liddell in the UFC, Roy Jones. Once that chin goes and you can't take a punch no more, it's over. Might as well just say bye-bye, because you're not going to be able to stay alive in the fight game if you can't take a shot. So
it only takes one.
And I don't think many people punch harder than Mike Tyson. He's knocked people out with body shots. Not too many other fighters have done that in their career. So my money is on Tyson. I don't even know what the odds are. Let me look it up on FanDuel real quick and see if they even have odds on the fight.
Yeah, my money's on Tyson right now too.
He got to be the favorite, right? There's no way that he's the underdog in this.
I'd be surprised.
But even if it's even on the board, I don't even know if you could bet it.
Oh, I'm sure you can bet it. They wouldn't be doing this fight if they couldn't bet it.
Oh, Earl Spence and Danny Garcia. Earl Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia is on tonight. That's another fight. I believe that's on Fox Sports, or Fox later on tonight. If you're looking for something for free to watch, go watch Earl Spence Jr. Great fighter. I do not see the Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. fight on here.
Wow, that's surprising.
I don't know. If we find it, I'll tweet it out. If I do see the odds, if not, like we said, both of us would put our money on Tyson. But yeah, that's all I got for this week in sports. Thanks for bringing up the Tyson thing. I was too distracted by David Beckham making 17 million.
17 mil.
Unbelievable. I did it so wrong. So wrong.
Ditto.
All right, that's all this week.
All right, boys and girls, that's going to do it for your favorite dumb works again this week. Thanks for listening to episode 13. Make sure that you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and basically everywhere podcasts are available. And as always, if you don't want to follow us on social media and you got a question for us, shoot us an email at dumbmarkspod@gmail.com. All right, Steve, you got anything else before we take it home this week?
Yeah, just one thing that kind of ties in the world of wrestling and the world of sports. I wanted to bring this up to you and pose a question. So I don't know if you watched the last Sunday, the Colts-Packers game at all, but Colts wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling in overtime caught a pass, for like first or second play of overtime, caught a pass, fumbled, Colts recovered, they run 3 plays, kick a field goal, they win the game. He tweeted out afterwards, "Death threats over a football game? ? Jesus, you people need help. It's actually sick. I'm good. My team got my back." Lana's documentary on the WWE Network. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a really good in-depth Chronicle 24, whatever they do. But in there, she talks about death threats and tweets and just all types of cyberbullying stuff and everything else, right, that she gets from fans, from the internet wrestling community, and gets really emotional in it. So my question is to you. We know that fan is short for fanatic. Mm-hmm. But given these two circumstances and just general overall, what is too far as a fan? What crosses the line? Like, because we're in this age where everybody is accessible, a thumb tap on your phone and an app opening up, right? So you can say whatever you want to whoever you want, and nobody has to actually face the consequences for those words. Now, we know cyberbullying is an issue. It's a real thing, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at the suicide rates with school-age children, since social media has become prominent, it has skyrocketed. So we know that that words aren't, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That old adage, that's not true nowadays. Words are words. They do hurt. People are affected by what other people say. Yeah. Now, the reason for that and the argument as to why that is completely different question and topic. But my question is, as a fan, what is going too far? What crosses the line? When do you stop being a fan and you become that crazed fanatic?
I mean, I think you hit on the head before with your comment that people are so used to being able to speak their mind but not having repercussions. And that's the problem with having all this at your fingertips. It used to be before, if you were at a bar and you had the conversation and you said something that someone didn't like, you got punched out for it, man or woman, men, women both fight. Hiding behind your keyboard really eliminates that action. I'm not saying everybody deserves to get punched in the face, but there's a lot of people that do with some of the shit that they say on social media. I don't know if it's a question on the mental health of this country or the world or what, but people just really do take it too far. I think people just like to stir the pot a little bit too. It might not be that, that's really them. It's a reflection on them. It's just what they want to do. That's who they want to be. They want to be that asshole on social media. They want to be that troll. I mean, I have people in my own family that, they're very nice to my face and they're very nice to be around, but then I see their conversations on social media. It's just like, who are you? Like they're a completely different person when they're behind that keyboard, and it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, we do this show because we call ourselves the Dumb Marks. It's all in fun. Neither one of us ever goes on social media and badmouths somebody.
No, and I think obviously when you're looking at it from a logical standpoint, making death threats to a football player who dropped a football pass in a game that you're watching for your own entertainment obviously crosses the line.
Yeah.
Bullying somebody, when we grew up, bullying was different.
Mm-hmm.
It was physical, right?
It was in your face.
It was in your face. It used to be one good way to stop a bully would be to punch him in the face, right? Then you see how tough a bully really is. You just punch him in the face. I was always told never start a fight, but always finish a fight. Now, can I say that I never bullied anybody growing up? Looking back on it, I probably did at some point in time.
At some point in time,
intentionally
too.
Yeah, but I mean, looking back, I've been bullied occasionally on times, and I know that I have done things that would be considered bullying somebody else at times. Like we said with the social media age, that physical aspect's taken out of it. So it's all words. And then what happens? You get the snowball effect, right? Which is why it's so prevalent with school age kids nowadays, because of how important social media is.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants the likes and the retweets and the quotes and the yays. Like it's scientists. I mean, it's scientifically proven. People are physically reacting with release of chemicals based off of likes and hearts and retweets, and
makes them feel good.
This is proven to happen to you. If you don't believe me, go look it up. I'm not saying anything. I didn't stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, and I'm not a doctor, but it's out there. Okay, it is what it is, right? But you get this. It doesn't matter if it's sports or wrestling, where we see it the most, right? Because that's what we talk about. Obviously, there's other things that we talk about, but we see the bad side of fandom in sports and in wrestling because of what we cover. So we see that with the death threats, the negative comments, the you can't do this, and all, and people jump on that train and want to pile on because, hey, it's cool. Yeah, you suck at your job. Well, let's continue to pile on and make you feel like shit. I almost wish we could get back to the days where it was a little bit more physical so you could turn around and punch that bully in the face. But I do believe, what Lana was saying in her doc and this tweet by Marquez Valdez-Scantling, that, if you're taking your fandom to the point where you're physically threatening my life because of a mistake or a botch or something doesn't go right, then you need to get looked at. There's no reason for you to take your fandom to that extent.
Let's take 2020 out of the equation, because we all know people have way too much time on their hands this year. When there's not a worldwide epidemic going on, people still have way too much time on their hands when they do this shit. That this is your life, that you sit behind the computer all day long, you type this shit to whoever, entertainers, sports players, pro wrestlers, whoever you're doing this to. Yeah, I agree. You need to reevaluate your life. You need to get looked at and what's going on in your life that you have to do this to somebody else.
Look, I mean, the reason why we're fans of whether it's football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, soccer, and movies, certain shows, we're fans because we get enjoyment out of it. Because we at one point in time may have played those sports or may have acted in high school plays. You're a fan because of your love of what you're watching. So I never understood the fan that goes too far and crosses the line. Now, I can be at a game and I could be chanting, I could boo the Ravens and say, fuck you and you suck and everything else, right? But that's in the course of the game. It's not to me that.
It's part of the experience of the game.
Part of the experience. That's part of being a fan, is rooting for your team, booing the other team, right? But when you start crossing a line and going into the threats and the negative, the bullying-esque language that's used in these comments and these threads and these messages, to me that it's going too far, and it's not needed, and it's not enjoyable. And if I'm the athlete or the actor or the sports entertainer, pro wrestler, to me, that's why am I going out putting my body on the line because of injury potential and everything else? Football, you're one hit away from being paralyzed. Yeah. Pro wrestling, you're one bump away from being paralyzed. We've seen life-changing injuries to these people in these sports. To go as far as threatening to kill somebody or bullying somebody because you don't like their character or how they wrestle, or you're your team lost the game because a wide receiver fumbled the ball. Well, hey, the other player on the other team gets paid millions of dollars to make plays too, and he just made a play that was better than your player making a play. So that's it. That's the game. That's how it goes. Like, don't cross the line. Don't be that jerk.
Exactly.
That goes too far and takes it to the next level when it's not necessary.
Yeah, people just really need to reevaluate some of their lives, and unfortunately, I don't think some people have the mental capabilities to do that evaluation of themselves.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I saw it. It was in both spaces for stuff that we cover as far as fandom going in the wrong direction, and I wanted to bring it up and ask you about it and get your thoughts on it. So with that, Neil, maybe at some point we'll talk about that some more in another setting. But with that, I want to leave you with this quote from Marilyn Monroe. Anything I do for someone is out of love. You never have to worry about a hidden agenda with me because I don't need you for anything. So with that, do everything with love. Stay true. Acts of kindness go a long way and make your day better, to make the person you touch better. And maybe we can get the snowball to roll downhill in a positive direction instead of a negative one. And that's all I got to say about that. Until next time. You can catch us around the way.